have $100,000 limit. What's going on? Welcome to the Credit Plug channel. So in today's video, I'm gonna be sharing with you one of the hottest credit funding plays right now, where you can get up to $100,000 cash in your bank account with absolutely no hard credit check. We're talking about invoice financing with Bill.com. You can receive up to $100,000, take advances on unpaid invoices up to $100,000, and pay a 3% origination fee per financed invoice. You get your money in minutes, so you'll receive funds in as little as 5 to 10 minutes instead of waiting 30 plus days for customers to pay your invoices. Applying is quick and easy. The application process is simple and it won't affect your credit score. In the business space, sometimes it may take months before you receive payment from a customer. I even have some clients where I may not get paid, but every quarter, so I have to wait 3 months before I get payment. So invoice financing through Bill.com allows you to get access to your funds immediately. That'll then free up cash flow so that you could take care of other business expenses. And this is actually faster and easier than traditional credit lines or even loans. And the great thing is that it's not going to be based off of your credit, rather your transaction history. Now, some of you may be familiar with Divvy, which was acquired by Bill.com. So this is going to be on the spend and expense side. But when we're talking about invoice financing, this is going to be on the accounts payable receivable. Now, if anyone's interested in applying, I'll drop the link in the description of the video. Once you get set up, your account will look something like this, where you'll have your open invoices. And then basically, if you want to get this money up front, you will have to go through invoice financing. So just over on the left-hand side, you just click over to financing. And right here, it tells you your available financing limit. So I have $100,000 financing limit on invoices. So if I wanted to get paid immediately, I could utilize this financing limit to get paid. So what they'll do is send the money directly to your bank account. And then once your client actually pays the invoice, that's when Bill.com will then collect payment from your client plus the 3% fee. Now, once you have an eligible invoice, all you got to do is select Pay Me Now, and then it'll initiate the process for you to get paid. Now, one thing I do want to clarify is that there is a certain time limit for you to be able to utilize the invoice financing. So if you have a really old invoice and the invoice was due, let's say, 4 or 5 months ago, those invoices won't be eligible for finance. So this would have to be a new invoice that would be due within the next 60 days. Now, the key to getting a high credit limit for your invoice financing is to have vendors or customers who are already in the Bill.com platform, because they're looking at the history. So how you've actually utilized accounts payable and accounts receivable on their platform. So the more activity that you have, and I guess the more credible your customers and vendors are, is going to enable you to get a high limit. So I work with a lot of like Fortune 1000 types of companies where they're transacting a lot already on the platform. So it's much more easier to get access to the invoice financing or have eligible invoices that could be financed. Now, let's say you want to utilize invoice financing. The first step is to actually create an invoice. So you can just click this button right here. And right here, you can add a customer. So as I was saying, if your customer is already in the platform, you can more or less search them. So, these are just examples of, customers I actually utilize with this platform. If your customer is already in here, that's a good thing, but it doesn't necessarily have to be already on the platform. If not, all you would have to do is hit add a customer. And right here, you would just put the company name, the contact information, their billing address, shipping address, payment terms, and so forth. And after you add them, you would just, populate the customer right there. And then right here is where you would have your invoice number, which is required, the invoice date, the due date of the invoice, and then just a description. And then right here, you'll put in the actual price of the invoice. So let's say, for example, I had a client that owed me, let's say $50,000. I would just create that invoice. So right here, you see amount due, $50,000. And then you could also attach, any supporting documentation. It's not required, but after you create the invoice, you're just going to hit review and send. And if your customer is not already on the Bill.com platform, they'll basically get a link where they can, set up their account. They give several different options, so they could pay with a credit card, they could pay through ACH. Now, some frequently asked questions: how much does invoice financing cost? So invoice financing has a 3% fee per invoice finance. The 3% fee is about the same as what you would pay for like a credit card payment to your customers. So it's actually pretty competitive, in my opinion. If your customer doesn't pay bill within 2 months, you are responsible for paying back the full amount of each invoice finance. They'll send you alerts in advance so they can remind your customer to pay. Interest will begin accruing monthly on each payment due at 15% until the finance invoice is paid in full. Another question: why am I not eligible for invoice financing? So currently, invoice financing is offered to a limited number of customers. Various factors are included in the invoice financing eligibility, including the length of time as a Bill customer, transaction history with Bill, and the customers that are paying your invoice. Because every business is unique, each application is considered separately, and decisions are based on current guidelines. They're going to look at how long you've been a customer, your transaction history, and the quality of the customer. So as I was saying, a lot of the customers I work with are other businesses, right? So most of which are already utilizing Bill.com. So you're almost kind of piggybacking off of the experience and transaction history of your customer. So that's another benefit. Another question: how many invoices can I get paid up front? So typically you can get advance payments against invoices up to $100,000 total. Limits may vary, but you can see your financing limit in your bill account on the invoices page. So as I was showing you guys, so as you can see, based on my history on Bill.com, I have $100,000 limit. Now, the great thing about the invoice financing is that the money goes to your bank account immediately. You don't personally have to undergo any type of credit check. There's no documents, no tax returns, no bank statements, anything. Basically, they're just looking at your history as a customer on the Bill platform, as well as the strength of the customers that are paying your invoices. So if you have really reputable customers, then that's going to help you get an even higher credit limit for invoice financing. And it's just as good as cash, because what happens is when you get advanced on the invoice financing, that money goes directly to your bank account. So you have access to that money. Now, this solves a major problem in business, because oftentimes it may take 30, 60, 90 days, sometimes 180 days to get paid from a customer. So if you have access to that money immediately, it's going to allow you to continue to grow your business. Anyways, that's all for today's video. Let me know your comments and questions down below. And if anyone's interested in applying for the Bill.com invoice financing, first you want to get set up with accounts payable and accounts receivable. Now, just keep in mind, there are two different logins. You have accounts payable and receivable, and then you have spend and expense. So if you click on this, this is actually going to take you to the Divvy card. So again, some of you may remember Bill.com actually acquired Divvy, but you want to go on accounts payable and receivable, because this is where you're going to get the invoice financing. So in total, Bill.com actually offers two different accounts. So they have the Divvy card, which is more or less like a corporate charge card, expense management. And then on the accounts payable and receivable, they also have invoice financing up to $100,000. So I just wanted to distinguish that those are two separate credit products on the platform. So the Bill card has nothing to do with invoice financing. Those are two separate credit facilities. Anyways, that's all for today's video. There's a link in the description of the video for anyone interested in applying. Until next time, take it easy, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.